Alright, so I can't believe I'm finally doing this motherfucking video. Yeah, I was contemplating whether I should do this video or not, because I already did a video about it, basically. But this time I'm going to do it GLL style and play this dumbass's video and pause it from time to time to comment why he's wrong, why he's stupid, why I disagree. You know, good old-fashioned GLL style. He's the one who inspired me to make a video like this. Now, I've already done a video where I talked about why I disagree with Lucas and why he's a jackass and all that. But this time around, it's going to be a little more in-depth. So, you know, I don't blame you if you don't want to watch this video because it's going to be fucking long and shit. But, you know, I'm just warning you right now, if you don't want to see me trash Lucas again, then stop watching right now. But yeah, what was I going to say? I got a lot of hate for calling Lucas out for the full of shit piece of crap that he really is. So, because of that, I'm doing this, just to piss off those dumbasses who are actually fans of his content. I mean, fine, if you like Call of Duty wannabe trash like Titanfall 2, then be my guest. Watch this video and get triggered, fucking bitches. See if I give a shit. You know what I give a shit about? I give a shit about the truth, man. I give a shit about quality video games and what games actually suck balls and which games are actually good. And Pukas Gaycevic over here, he's got some pretty shitty taste. I mean, sorry, dude, but Overwatch and Titanfall 2 are trash. And this video right here, Halo Reach 6 years later, pretty gay video, pretty bad video that he did talking about Reach. He did a pretty shitty job, I gotta say, overall. But anyway, yeah, if you don't want to watch me bitch about this douchebag for about an hour, then yeah, don't watch this video. But yeah, start off real quick before I actually get into it. Some stuff that happened over the week. GLL played Battlefront 2. I wish he wouldn't waste his time with that trash game. But, you know, dude is honest and real, and he called the game out for being the piece of shit that it truly is, so that's good. So, even though I wish he wouldn't waste his time playing a shitty game like that, I wish no one would waste their time playing a shitty fucking game like that. I mean, I don't think you should torture yourself. But, you know, if you're going to fucking play a shit game like that, at least, you know, be realistic and admit that it's a piece of shit. And that's what GLL did, so I commend him for that. That was cool. He said something fucking hilarious about the game. He said that, what did he say? I'm trying to remember. He said, the good thing about a game like this is whatever game I play after this is going to seem amazing. That was such a sick burn. Nice. Yeah, but come on. It's a microtransaction fucking bullshit, stupid fucking generic EA game piece of shit. Of course it's going to suck. Of course it's going to suck. Like, there's no question. But I appreciate GLL taking the time to showcase why that game is such a piece of dog shit. Granted, like I said, I wish he wouldn't waste his time playing it, but, you know, I guess somebody's got to take one for the team to let the good people know how much of a piece of shit it truly is in great detail. So, whatever, that's cool. Yeah, and I was going to do another 343 joke video. I was going to play Homer Simpson when he found out that Planet of the Apes is our planet. I was going to use that in a way to make fun of 343. As a fucking joke video. But one of GLL's subscribers, his name is Blue Flaming Ninja. He's a pretty cool guy. His channel's alright. He's got some videos where he makes fun of all these shitty corporations in the world of gaming. Like, the dude knows his shit when it comes to these corporate assholes ruining everything. And so yeah, he did a video using that Planet of the Apes joke that I was gonna fucking use, asshole. So I guess I can't use that one. It just doesn't feel right anymore since he did it before me. Bastard. But anyway, yeah. And some other shit I want to talk about. I've been playing Reach lately, and ever since I played that Noble map, I haven't been able to get the Noble map pack to pop up again, so that was like a super rare-ass fucking fluke. So I've played like over 100 games since they made the maps all free, and boom, still only played on the new maps once. So nobody really gives a shit. That's the point I'm trying to make. But the online population numbers for Halo Reach right now, they seem to be working right now. They weren't like a few days ago, but now they're working, so alright, I guess that's good. Epic Forger, he's another one of GLL's subs that I ran into a little while back, and now me and him are kind of buddies, you know, we're on Xbox Live together sometimes. He talks to me and shit. He said to me, haven't you noticed that Reach is getting shittier online? And yeah, I have noticed that. Like, it's getting laggier, like the stats won't register. Sometimes there'd be incorrect stats. Like just the other day, I played a match where I got 38 kills and 0 deaths, but the stat said that I had 40 kills and 0 deaths. So then I watched the video, and yeah, the video showed that I only got 38 kills and 0 deaths. So I thought I should have gotten it unfreaking believable, but I didn't because I only got 38 kills. But the stats, for some reason, said I got 40 kills. So what's the deal there? They fucked up or something. And this isn't the first fucking time this has happened. I've seen matches where it says that a player killed me and my brother once or twice, but then at the end of the fucking match, the stats say that the enemy team got absolutely 0 fucking kills. So where the fuck are they getting these points from? It was Invasion Slayer, so where the fuck are they getting the points from? Where the fuck are their points coming from if they got 0 fucking kills? Me and my brother were the only ones playing on our team. How the fuck did they get any kills if me and my brother never died? So they've been fucking up the stats a lot. Sometimes the servers are just down and you can't even fucking play Reach sometimes, you know? So yeah, I have noticed Epic Forger. I have. And I think it's fucking gay. But, you know, whatever. I don't really care. Fuck it. Online multiplayer gaming is pretty much shit anyways nowadays. Back in the day when it was new and fresh, it seemed kind of cool, but now it's just riddled with microtransactions, corporate bullshit, overpriced this and that, unbalanced this and that, fucking shitty maps, shitty gameplay, shitty games overall, fucking gankers, cheaters, hackers, modders, fucking, like, just all the annoying shit that you can run into, suiciders, betrayers, and stuff, you know. So I don't give a fuck about online gaming anymore. I stopped caring a long time ago, and I couldn't care less anymore nowadays. So I really don't give a shit. If Reach got offline, I'd probably stop paying for Xbox Live, and that would be that. Like, I really don't care too much about internet when it comes to gaming, multiplayer, that kind of thing. The best video game experiences are what am I trying to say here? Single player experiences and co-op experiences. Playing over the internet and playing multiplayer, that's so limited, and nowadays the games suck ass in that regard. So you're kind of fucked on that deal, and you're not going to have that great of a time a lot of the time, you know? Like you'll play like a game like Breath of the Wild, which is a single-player game. It's not multiplayer at all, but you'll have way more fun going back and playing that on and off than you would something like Call of Duty, Infinite Warfare. Just saying, you know? Like multiplayer gaming, getting worse and worse, and it's been sucking for the past like 5 to 10 years, something like that. You're just getting really shitty games for multiplayer. It's just, oh goodness. So I really don't give a fuck, but I'm just saying multiplayer gaming is not that great, and those tryhards that take that shit way too seriously need to calm down, you know. Anyway, I wanted to talk about fanboyism real quick. Fanboyism, yeah. A lot of people will toss the fanboy insult around, but this is the way I look at it, and this is the real way that you should look at it. Fanboys are everywhere, and everyone is a fanboy to a certain degree. You have to admit that to yourself. You have to wake the fuck up and admit that to yourself. Now, the definition of a fanboy is somebody who's really emotionally attached to something, someone who really cares about something in geek culture, like a music or a movie or a TV show or a video game. And in the gaming world, fanboy means that you're really into a certain game or a console or whatever, right? So everybody's a fanboy to a certain degree, because admit it to yourselves, there are games out there that you fucking love. You kiss the ass of this game all the time because you think it's amazing. You think it's one of the best games ever made. Everybody feels that way about some kind of game, but you got to draw the line and look at things objectively and use facts, logic, and experience to pinpoint the dumbass fanboys and separate them out from the logical fanboys, okay? So you could argue that I am a Legend of Zelda Link to the Past fanboy. But that's okay, because that game is great, all right? You could argue that I'm a Perfect Dark 64 fanboy. But that's fine, because that game is great. Now, if you're a Call of Duty Infinite Warfare fanboy, or an EA Games fanboy, or an Activision Games fanboy, Destiny fanboy, you're a retard. Those games are trash, objectively speaking. You might like them, but at least admit that they're garbage video games, and you have an addiction to trash games, you know? And you have bad taste. You haven't experienced true quality in video games. You got to admit that to yourself. So the key is to be a fanboy of stuff that doesn't suck. And to not be a fanboy of shit that does fucking suck. That's the fucking thing that you got to focus on. But anyway, that's pretty much the end of my ranting before I start criticizing this dumbass Pukas over here. Yeah, I know I'll probably repeat myself a shitload in this video because I already did a video talking about this video. But now I'm doing this one just for shits and giggles and just to piss off dumbass Reach haters and dumbass 343 fanboys and dumbass Lucas Faggot Thick or whatever his fucking name is fans. So, yeah, I'm just going to do this to piss those people off. And, actually make logical arguments and good points along the way because I'm not a fucking dumbass like Lucas and his fucking fan base over here. So let's get right into it, shall we? I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about before I start this video. And like I said, you know, it's a long video, so if you don't want to hear me slander this motherfucker into the ground because he deserves it and he's a dumbass, then yeah, stop watching the video right now. But if you like Halo Reach and you disagree with a lot of the stupid things that this motherfucker says, then yeah, go ahead and watch this video because I'm going to lay down the fucking law and make some really good points. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this video because there's a lot of Pukas Gaysific fans. But like I said, bitches, I don't give a fuck. So here we go.
Previously, I said Halo 3 ODST marked the point when reception of Halo began to get more interesting. The trilogy was almost universally loved by its fans, but ODST ruffled some feathers in the community, and Microsoft's canceled projects missed the brief moment when Halo was on top of the world. Even Bungie themselves wanted out of Microsoft's empire, resulting in their deal to become fully independent after completing 2 more Halo games for the manufacturer. With 3 full years of development, Bungie...
Alright, he's just talking history stuff here. So, damn volume. So, yeah, real quick though, I forgot, just for shits and giggles, let's read some of the comments on his video here. If you, what am I doing? Okay. Yeah, if you watch his video here, He's got about 12,000 and a half likes, but he's got 5,000 dislikes. A lot of people did not agree with what he had to say. A lot of people didn't appreciate this video, and I'm one of them, you know, because I really like Reach, and I think he didn't give it enough credit, and I think he bitched way too much, and there's a lot of problems with this video. But just for shits and giggles, let's just read some of the comments people left on this video, just to kind of back my points up that people don't care for this motherfucker's video on Reach. Okay, first up is Actman. Actually, yeah, I know I talk shit about Actman all the time, and I've justified my reasons for hating the motherfucker, but he did show up in this video, and even though he's friends with this Gasovic faggot, he did have the balls and the brains to stand up to him and say, hey, I disagree with your analysis of the characters in Halo Reach. He didn't like his opinion on the story. And I agree with Actman 100% when it comes to Halo Reach's story. The story's not that as bad as people say it is. You know, it's pretty badass. But I've already explained why I think the story is pretty awesome in other videos. Maybe I'll make another video in the future that pretty much focuses 100% on the story of Reach. But for now, that's just one example of somebody who disagrees with Pukas over here. And, of course, a lot of other people do, too, you know? And look at these comments. This one guy says, Halo Reach should get a remaster, obviously implying that he really likes the game, you know? And over 600 people liked his comment. This one guy says, objective? I've never heard anyone bitch about Reach this much. He got 400 likes on his comment. This one guy commented, boring, you don't feel like a badass? You just do what your commander tells you to do? Congratulations, Lucas. You just realized that you're playing as a soldier. That guy got 200 likes on his fucking comment. Yeah, this guy says, I respect your output, man, but I feel like you might have had your nostalgia goggles on when you made this. He got 200 likes on his comment. Let's see. This one guy gets 130 likes on his comment, and he says, yeah, I don't know, man. Reach is still my favorite campaign, and I think you're underplaying a lot of its strengths like cinematography and gameplay. And yeah, the characters aren't thoroughly fleshed out, but I don't think it's supposed to be a character-driven story. It's more about Reach than it is about Noble Team. Guy's got a good point. Just saying. This guy gets 100 likes, and he says, this guy is way too critical and makes ridiculous assumptions. The multiplayer Slayer dynamics are totally open to the potential of play styles and flows. Wait, I'm reading this wrong. The multiplayer Slayer dynamics are totally open to many potential playing styles and flows, not just the one narrow-minded assumption that he makes, condemning jetpacks for ruining map flow. Obviously, he has not played against one of those bastard team. Oh my God, this guy can't write. But he still makes a good point that that kind of stuff doesn't totally break the fucking gameplay. And besides, like a point I've made in the past is that the armor abilities aren't that bad in Reach, even if you don't like them. There are plenty of playlists that have armor abilities disabled or not heavily featured, so it's not a big fucking deal. Stop bitching so much. You know? Let's see. This one guy gets 280 likes on his comment. He says, I know Halo Reach has some mistakes and some stuff that some people don't like, but Jesus, cut Reach some slack. What the hell did Reach do to you? You know? And then I commented apparently on his comment, and I said, sadly, he was overly critical and just plain stupid in a lot of areas. I did a video complimenting his good points and bashing his shitty points. You should check it out. And I got 33 likes for my comment, you know. This one guy, he comments, he got 600 likes on his comment. He says, what Bungie has done is made a story about a squad that's unable to prevent disaster. And he says, that's the point of Reach. It's a prequel. Yeah, really. I mean, what do you want, Lucas? A fucking mind-blowing original story? It's a prequel based on a fucking book. We all know how it pretty much ends, you know? It's just... Ugh. Goodness. You know, a lot of people criticize Reach. They say that the story sucks because we know how it's going to end. Even though that's not actually true at all. You didn't know that June would survive. You didn't know how the Spartans would die. You didn't know all that stuff going on behind the scenes with Dr. Halsey. You know, there's still a lot of mystery and stuff that you don't know about until you actually fucking play the game. It's not all fucking given to you before the game actually launched. It's not like everybody knew the fucking story in great detail of this game before it even came out. So, to all those people, you guys are fucking retards. I'm sorry. Alright. This one guy gets 56 likes on his comment. He says, okay, first of all, the campaign was amazing. It had a great story, and you can connect with the characters and grow to love them the whole campaign. Then when each of them gets picked off one by one, it's a sad moment every time. And secondly, Firefight was fun. Maybe not as fun as ODST, but still pretty fun. This game is where you play as powerful super soldiers. If you want it to be harder, up the difficulty. Yeah, and he goes on. I mean, this guy makes a huge fucking comment. Not as huge as mine, but yeah. Oh, and look at this. We got Fagin. Fagin is in the comments section. You make great content. Keep it up, man. Of course you would say that. You hate Reach, and you're a fucking retard. And then, of course, oh, looky here. We got Late Night Cock Up the Ass. That faggot is in the comments praising this video. Because he is also a Reach hater and a fucking retard who denies that Master Chief Collection is broken. He thinks it's fucking fixed. This kid lives in a fucking bubble. He is not living in reality. He is mentally ill. Do not watch Late Night Cock Up the Ass. He's a fucking retard. Seriously. So anyway, reading more of these, you know. Reach is my favorite Halo. What do you mean there was no massive... What do you mean there were no massive blow-up bits in Reach? What about the Corvette? What about the end of the first mission? Yeah, really, you know. This one guy says, I like how you shit on this game, but you seem to have liked Halo 4 and Halo 5 more. What the fuck? Really? Yeah, you know, there's a lot of comments here that just pretty much disagree with Pukas Racevic over here. Anyway, just making that clear. Now, I guess let's continue with the video. Like I said, this is probably pretty boring, so just you know, click off this video if you don't want to listen to me bitch about this dude. So here we go.
Intended Halo Reach as the culmination of all their work that came before,
turn it up, 'cause I
to
can't
elevate a
fucking hear
franchise hit into their greatest and most ambitious game ever made.
Man.
In their own documentary, Bungie says that it was the perfect way to end the series. Only that is an impossibility.
Okay, first of all, the dude, he sounds like he smokes way too many cigarettes, and he's got this really creepy nerd voice. That bugs me. Just a little nitpick. Nothing against the video. But he is right about that. There is no such thing as the perfect way to make a Halo game or whatever. Nothing's fucking perfect, alright? They were just, you know, talking out of their ass and trying to hype everything up, so don't take it so literal, Lukovic or Luki Reykjavik or whatever your dumbass name is. They're just trying to hype up the game. believe I'm watching this shit again. This video sucks. But I'm an asshole and I want to criticize this dipshit, so here we go.
Halo is a franchise that's both an innovator and an iterator. For example, Halo 2 innovated with its online multiplayer and social features, but the gameplay itself was very much an iteration of the first.
It's not exactly the first online video game ever made, dumbass, but whatever.
It's from the outset that Halo Reach was Bungie's final installment in the franchise that they created, and while innovation would still be implemented, Reach's core focus was to create the largest Halo game in every possible way, from campaign to co-op, levels to characters, arsenal to abilities, customization to personalization.
Makes sense that he would say that, though,
began
because
with Bungie's newfound
obviously
freedom of not
pretty
being
big
nearly
Halo
as
2
restricted
fanboy,
as
but
their
whatever.
previous titles. The developers had their experience, unlike Combat Evolved, extensive pre-production, unlike Halo 2, no connection with 2 games worth of story, unlike Halo 3, and had multiple years in development, unlike ODST. While there isn't much about the development process to dissect due to a real lack of information on it, something to be discussed is how many of Reach's ideas were actually conceived of long before. The ability to sprint is a controversial topic amongst competitive fans, but its introduction was conceived as far back as Halo 2. Armorlock's ability to deliver an EMP charge harkens back to Combat Evolved. Holograms appear.
So yeah, at this point in the fucking video, he talks about the how armor abilities came to be, and he's pretty spot on. So this is a good part of this video actually, where he talks about the origin of armor abilities and whatnot, and he's pretty fucking right about all this shit that he's saying right here. So I give him props for that.
Too. So did jetpacks. Speaking of abilities, 2 of them are repurposed assets from Halo 3. Active Camouflage blended a classic power-up with the Radar Jammer, and Drop Shield fused the Bubble Shield and Regenerator. Halo Reach wasn't bursting with new ideas. Rather, it implemented ideas Bungie conceived of years ago. Being a prequel, Halo Reach only has loose connections to the Master Chief's adventures, allowing the writers free rein to explore themes and subjects they've never tackled before. The game certainly has a different feel from the very moment you launch it. Simple UI and clean fonts mixed with the removal of blue and purple backgrounds already sets the game apart, as does its cinematic style. The new story and cinematic lead, Lee Wilson, wanted the camera to reinforce Reach's grit. The game often cuts to lower quality camera footage, security tapes, and features far more use of simulated handheld techniques.
All true. He's being right. He's right.
Reach famously begins with your Spartan's helmet on the ground. From the outset, your days are numbered. It's also the first taste with how the game's customization is spread across the whole experience. It's always fun to see your own character's armor instead of a pre-made configuration. But after this opening shot, the game begins in a far more generic fashion. Your character, 6, walks in to meet their squad, and you're told what to do. Bungie says the game originally featured 7 Spartans, but cut down the number to 5 so the player could get to know each of them better. Remember this. Carter, Kat, June, Emil, and George are the squad members we're left with. 3 of them make mention of your file, and Carter hints towards you being a sort of lone wolf in the past. From there, we're dropped right into the first mission where the game makes an attempt to build a mood and atmosphere rather than just jumping straight into the action. This is a neat idea, but it falls flat in execution. My theory is that the developers behind this opening mission were far more concerned with creating a tutorial space where the player can get comfortable with the controls, movement, and sprinting, rather than creating suspense or character development. Just listen to these reactions when the Covenant reveal themselves.
Alright. So, this is where I have to butt in and talk some shit. Alright. How is this not building up suspense? I mean, you land, and there's a flaming vehicle, some missing people that you're looking for. Now you're doing detective work, find some clues, and then you run up on some villagers and shit, and they're scared out of their mind. And they're telling George, the big guy, that there's something fucked up going on. and that somebody got dragged out into the fields and has been disappeared for a while, and how is that not tension building? And this scene right in the game, right before it, you stumble upon some Marines who have been brutally interrogated and killed by the Covenant assholes. Like, there's blood everywhere. They're hanging up on the walls, you know, like, it's fucked up. How does this not building tension? And then when you walk outside, one of those skirmisher bitches leaps through the air real quick, and if you're watching your radar and looking up, you might catch a glimpse of this cocksucker before you actually start to have to fight him. So it's building things up pretty good. I don't know what you're talking about, Lucas, but whatever. We'll have to disagree on that.
Boss, I see movement outside your structure.
Noble 2, move up to the west.
Damn
We're about
it!
to be
Cover
flanked.
Contact! Contact! Fire! Assist!
There we go.
Bungie said repeatedly they wanted to bring the aliens back to being a real threat. And this is what they came up with? A wide open field with a handful of enemies doing bugger all. And your squad's reactions are so vapid and boring that they bring no sense of fear or even concern.
Alright. Ah, goodness. Okay. Yeah, I gotta say, you're Spartans, super soldiers, badass soldiers, trained from birth practically. Well, not birth, but, you know, from a very young age to deal with high-stress combat situations. You really think they'll be shitting their pants like little girls? You really think they'll be freaking the fuck out and panicking? No, dude. They're gonna keep their cool and play this out like the motherfucking badasses that they are. What kind of reaction were you expecting?
Damn it! Contact! Contact! Spartans assist!
Yeah, you hear Carter and he's fucking shouting. He's shouting orders. And then you got George, who's probably the most experienced of them all, who's seen some real shit. He's expressing a feeling of, like, you know, like, ah, shit. Just fucking great. Gotta deal with this fucked up shit. You know? This is not a reaction of, oh, I'm bored, here we go, fighting aliens, this is so boring. No, dumbass, you're interpreting the reaction completely incorrectly. His reaction is, oh, shit, this is really bad. Just my fucking day, right? My fucking luck, really? Covenant assholes, just great. That's the reaction that you should be feeling, but, you know, Pukas over here, he's just not on par here, you know, but whatever.
In fact, the entire opening fails to make you feel like a part of this team. Look at the moment when you investigate the distress beacon. The designers could have randomized its location in the area and have the player search for it and bring it back to the squad, making the player feel appreciated that they're assisting this team, one they'll be with for hours. What's really puzzling.
So, running around, so, let me get this straight. Every time I play this mission, you want me to search in all these different random areas? That sounds fucking boring. I like how you can just come down here and experience this cinematic scene, well, not cinematic scene, but this moment with the Spartans searching these pallets and grabbing that device thing or whatever. I like that, you know, that's cool, that you can just sit here and see them interact, or you can just fucking skip that shit. As a matter of fact, you can get off the goddamn helicopter and sprint down to where you run into the skirmishers. You can do that in about a minute. What's the fucking big deal? I don't understand why he's upset with this part of the game. Whatever.
About this opening, though, is that with some slight adjustments, it could have not only led to some character development, it'd also tie in better with Halo and feel less generic. For clarity, this mission, Winter Contingency, begins with the tutorial area, on-foot battles, open-ended vehicle section, and then tight close-quarters combat indoors. Now imagine if the level was reversed. You're dropped in to investigate this radio tower to get used to the controls. You move down the corridors while listening to dialogue from your teammates. You retrieve and find something for Cat to use on the computers, and BAM! Covenant attack with the first-person close-up. You begin your first fight in corridors to get used to the combat, just like Halos 1 and 2. You escape the base and split up with your teammates to stop the Covenant from killing any more civilians in the farmlands, leading to the open terrain combat. Bungie's introduction seems to only want to show off how much bigger this opening level is in comparison to the last two games, but so much of this stage has nothing to discover. It has the same problem as ODST, where so much of it is barren that despite its scale, the...
Okay, so he wants the game to basically be in reverse for this first level, and to that all I can say is, oh, you mean like Halo 4? That shitty game. Remember that? First enemy encounter, quick time event with an elite? Yeah. Not cool, dude. Not cool. The way Reach did it was fine. Leave it alone. But now he's complaining that this is like ODST in that this whole area is pretty empty and pretty barren. And what I have to say about that is, well, in the case of ODST, the city just got attacked big time by aliens, and then a massive fucking explosion went off and fucked everything up. There was a slip space rupture. So, what the fuck do you expect, Lucas? Do you expect a fucking Pizza Hut to be open? You know? You expect to be able to order some fucking Chinese takeout? Of course the fucking city is practically dead and there's nothing going on. And the same thing goes for this level. The alien cocksuckers have been sneaking around out here, killing people and assassinating folk. Word is getting around. Do you really think people are going to be running around in the farmland here? Also, this isn't a city. This is the farmland in Reach. There's probably more fucking weird ostrich creatures running around than there are humans. Of course you're not going to see much activity going on as far as society goes. Fucking idiot.
The world itself feels lifeless and static. Reach's increased scale hasn't resolved any issues pertaining to the subject of exploration. For combat, the game hasn't been hurt. It retains Halo's classic flow of weapons, grenades, and melee attacks. Picking apart squads of Covenant and balancing weapon combinations is no less fun than it's always been. As discussed previously, though, each game since Halo 3 has tried to implement a fourth element to Halo's core. Reach's attempt were the ever-controversial armor abilities. Whenever I hear people dismissing this game, it's often related to their frustration with giving players abilities that can save them in battle. Thing is, we've had 6 years of more and more games doing this without the same brand of vitriol from hardcore fans. And I think I know why, and I'll begin using the drop shield as an example. Halo Reach brought back the health bar, echoing the same system in Combat Evolved. The benefit of a health system combined with shields is that every encounter can revolve around a consistent amount of health that all players will have, while still implementing long-term consequences to those who make too many errors in combat. Unless you have the drop shield that regenerates your health regardless of location, health, or enemies present. With one button press, you can activate an ability that completely negates a design's entire existence. Armor Lock allows players to no longer be punished for bad positioning. Camouflage rewards campers in a game that...
That's... okay. That's not exactly true. You can get totally fucked over even if you have the drop shield and armor lock, okay? That stuff doesn't completely remove bad placement when you're playing the game. Yeah, sure, a lot of the time your teammates will come to your aid, and an armor ability like the drop shield or armor lock will buy you time for your teammates to come to your aid. But guess what? A lot of the time it fucking doesn't, and it just delays the inevitable, and a couple seconds later you're fucking dead, so it doesn't really matter. If you put a drop shield down and there's a Scorpion tank shooting at you, you know what's going to happen? It's going to destroy your drop shield, and then it's going to destroy you. You know what happens if a tank shows up when you have armor lock? It's going to wait for your armor lock to wear off and then blow you up. And those are just a couple examples out of many. So, anyway, let's continue on.
About speed and aggression. Sprint may be the opposite of armor lock in appearance, but it has the same function of no longer having to worry about bad positioning. Same with evade. Jetpack means you don't have to learn the quickest routes around a map. Hologram means you always have a way of luring out an enemy. These abilities actively remove tension from battles. I do prefer at least knowing that your enemy is going to have one of these abilities, unlike Halo 3's equipment, but Bungie's misguided decision to lower the number of choices the player considers when having an ability really impacts the flow of combat, despite increasing not just the scale of the level.
Alright, he's kind of got a point there. But, thing is, and I've made this point before, there are a lot of ways to play this game where the armor abilities simply do not exist. So just stick to that. Or just play the campaign without using an armor ability. Try that on for size. I don't know, just a thought, you know.
But also the amount of enemies on screen, it doesn't feel like it, because attention has been robbed of existence. Fighting more enemies at once ties in with a Covenant invasion, but Halo's gameplay is built around balance and flow, so despite having more AI on screen, the game has a real habit of filling that quota with cannon fodder, instead of challenging enemies like the elites. This is most obvious in the level Exodus, where the majority of your enemies are brutes. These enemies were strong opponents in the last 2 games.
Okay, alright. The brutes were strong opponents in the last 2 games. No, they weren't. They're retarded fucking monkeys. Do you just suck at Halo, Lucas? Because, they're fucking dumb and slow. Like, compared to fighting elites, these guys are a fucking joke. And, he's got a point, they're pretty much a fucking joke in Halo Reach. At least these typical ground brutes that you run into. But if you run into a chieftain, he can give you some fucking trouble. Just about as much trouble as a chieftain would have given you in ODST and Halo 3. Seriously, think about it. The FRG brute and Hammer brute chieftain in ODST and Halo 3, pretty much the same amount of deadliness as the ones that you run into in Reach. But I get what he's getting at here. The game's too easy, you know, is basically what he's bitching about. Well, you know, you could up the difficulty and choose not to play a certain way and turn on some fucking skulls or something. That would definitely make it harder. You know, judging a game based on its difficulty is pretty fucking weak. There's so much more to a video game than its difficulty, especially when you can fucking manipulate the difficulty settings to a large degree. So, like for example, Ocarina of Time is not a very hard game. Now try to beat it without getting any heart containers. All of a sudden, it's a different fucking ball game. You know what I mean? Like, that's a very subjective thing, and can't really logically use that as a way to bash the fucking game. But, whatever. I also like how he talks shit about the game's difficulty while showing the very first battle in the game against some fucking pussy-ass grunts, you know? Like, well, of course the first enemy encounter of the game is going to be somewhat easy, dude. But, whatever. Whatever.
Due to their lack of shields and head protection, they've effectively been reduced to grunts on protein bars.
Baggedy advertisement. City Skylines. Winter gameplay. That shit looks fucking
protection. They've effectively been reduced to grunts on protein bars. And if you're too lazy to get headshots, just pick up one of the many needle rifles off a Jackal and shoot each one 3 times. You're going to have to do that with every other weapon anyways, might as well use the one that doesn't require headshots. The needle rifle is one of Reach's 8 brand new weapons, 6 of which have never appeared since. And of the 2 weapons that have appeared in later games, both the DMR concussion rifle don't reach their peak here, no pun intended. As a replacement for the battle rifle, the DMR is a success with more of an emphasis on long-range combat. The battle rifle, even in Halo 3, was often used in close quarters combat, and the DMR is certainly less effective in this regard. But I will say that while not revolted by its inclusion, I don't think the reticle bloom has aged very well. It may have been a nice diversion after 4 games, but playing it today, it becomes pretty apparent that the bloom doesn't have much strategic value. You can spam the trigger at elites and still remain on target in most situations. Same thing goes for the pistol. Finally, in the sandbox department, there's vehicles, which are at their best here. The Warthog in particular actually has a sense of speed in this game that I didn't experience before. It makes driving more fun since you're in actual danger of going over the rails. All the ground vehicles grip and dig into the dirt, and aircraft is a nice weight without feeling clunky. AI companions still do a lackluster job of assisting in vehicles regardless of...
Yeah, so far I don't have anything to say about that. I think he's pretty much right here. Vehicles are pretty badass, and Bloom can be kind of gay.
Which by this point I almost don't even care about. Speaking of not caring... The developers repeatedly discussed how they wanted Noble Team to feel like Delta Force, individual soldiers who survived by sticking together. But in-game, there is so little interaction between the group, and all without any memorable dialogue. While exchanges aren't nearly as melodramatic as previous games, they haven't been replaced with anything enticing.
No memorable dialogue. So, when Emil gets killed, that trash talk that he says to that elite right when he sticks him, that wasn't memorable for you? All the smart alecky lines that June says, especially during the sniping mission, that wasn't memorable to you? Kat talking about how Six's file talks about how he's a secret badass fucking space jet pilot. You know, like, come on, man, there's some memorable dialogue here. And hardly any interaction. What are you talking about? They're always on the radio communicating with each other. Yeah, sometimes they have to split up, but that's what you do in combat. Sometimes you got to split up and cover multiple areas of combat, you know? Like what? Are they supposed to just stick together all the time and get bombed in one group? Fucking retarded. But whatever, dude.
This team being all business means we don't get to know them as people. There's only one scene in the whole game featuring every Spartan that isn't strictly a military briefing, and it's just not enough to make me care about them. This could have been forgiven if Reach's gameplay had each character uniquely assist in combat. But this isn't Half-Life 2 or Bioshock Infinite with decent NPC sidekicks, and either due to a lack of time or interest, Reach doesn't attempt to create any sort of attachment with these characters during gameplay, leaving cutscenes to do all the heavy.
So, the Spartans are supposed to be together at all times, got it. Ridiculous.
Lifting, and they're not nearly strong enough to do that. But Reach's awkward storytelling also harms its characters. At the end of the game's second level, you've spent dozens of minutes taking on legions of Covenant only for Dr. Halsey, a key member of the Spartan program, to say that she doesn't care about what just happened, and instead wants to know about events from the first mission, which transitions to the third mission.
The reason she doesn't give a fuck about that is because it is piddly shit compared to getting Cortana. But whatever, dude.
That has nothing to do with what was just discussed. In fact, Noble...
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with what's just discussed, but it does have something to do with what's happening in the game. You know, a fucking war, a fucking invasion happening. Noble Team, they have orders to get their ass in gear and stop these Covenant assholes. So they go on a recon mission. And that's what Mission 3 is all about. Dumbass.
Team isn't given anything to chase after until the game's penultimate stage. Everything done before then is an...
Wait, what? There's nothing to chase after. What about saving mankind from an alien invasion? What about saving Reach? There's something to chase after. Kicking the shit out of these evil alien pricks. That's the goal. Did you forget what the game was about?
Attempt to gain intel on the Covenant or cripple their forces. which we know doesn't work, so there's no tension. What Bungie
There's no tension. My God. So we're just supposed to not give a fuck about anybody in the game who's a good guy, because, you know, they're going to get killed anyway, right? So fuck them, right? Who gives a shit? Really? You know, this Pukas Gacific guy is not a very empathetic person. You know, these characters are based on human beings. You know? Yeah, it's all fictional, but it's trying to be realistic. They're humans. Spartans are genetically enhanced super soldiers and all that, but they're still human beings, just like you or me. And here we're watching them struggle and have a hard fucking time, a lot of them get killed one at a time, and it fucking sucks. Like, the bad guys are winning, and the good guys are getting their asses kicked. But Lucas doesn't give a fuck. For whatever retarded reason. Alright, whatever, you know.
have done is make a story about a squad that's unable to prevent disaster and attach that to a video game about making you feel like a badass. Lord knows I have my issues with previous.
Oh, goodness. So, if you go down in a hail of gunfire, if you fight for what you care about and you lose, you're not a badass, you're just a fucking loser who got his ass killed, right? So, all those guys at the Alamo who fought to protect the place, those guys are just a bunch of dumb pussies, just a bunch of fucking losers. They're not heroic at all. They're not awesome at all. They didn't fight off those enemies. They didn't stand up for an idea, you know. They were just a bunch of fucking idiots, right, Lucas? Give me a fucking break, dude. When you fucking stand up and fight against an evil, stupid asshole enemy, and even if you get your ass kicked, it's admirable. You were standing up for what was right. That's heroic. That is badass. You're a fucking asshole, Lucas.
Campaigns, but at least in the main trilogy, there's some semblance of a goal and consistency. In Reach, when the characters finally have a tangible goal, one whose entire purpose is to connect with the first game, it still can't effectively transition between missions. Noble Six, Carter, and Emil all get into a Pelican and fly away to deliver the plot device. One loading screen later, they're being attacked and Carter's wounded. I don't, why? Every opportunity...
Okay, I got a problem with this also. So, he doesn't like how it just jumps from one scene to the next and all of a sudden Carter's wounded. Well, not everything needs to be laid out for you, okay? You can use your imagination once in your life, okay, Lucas? Fucking Banshee probably flew by the front of the aircraft and shot through the metal with, you know, projectiles that are plasma that go through metal and glass. Probably got fucked up that way. Or maybe he got hurt earlier in the last mission and he just didn't want to tell anybody. Or he just didn't notice. That could be a thing. Getting injured in the heat of combat during stressful situations, a lot of the time people who get shot or hurt really bad, they don't realize it right away a lot of the time, you know? Any number of things could have happened. They could have been shot at from the back while they were flying, and since Emil and Noble Six are in the back and they're free to move around, maybe they were able to dodge some of the enemy projectiles, but since Carter is stuck in a fucking pilot seat, maybe they shot through the back of the seat and got him that way, you know? Who knows? Use your fucking imagination. Not everything has to be fucking played out for you. Not a big deal. As a matter of fact, it's actually pretty cool how they did that scene because it's kind of a shock. It's like, oh shit, the leader is dying. Fuck. You know, what the fuck happened? Are you serious? Just great. That elevates the fucking tension, man. But I'm sorry, there's no tension, right? I don't know what I'm talking about.
Each has to build its story. It ignores or skips entirely in order to get you to its gameplay, which, while enjoyable, hardly features anything we haven't seen before. And what is new isn't very remarkable. When a designer's idea for a whole section of a level is to stomp down narrow corridors killing suicide grunts one at a time, or a new
flying around in outer space and bombing the shit out of stuff, using a big-ass fucking Mac cannon to take down aircrafts, a last stand battle to the death. I've never really done that in a Halo game before, but whatever you say, Lucas.
mechanic is built only to show off a unique animation, you know the bucket of ideas is starting to ring hollow. That's the problem I have with Reach's campaign as a whole. There's nothing it does that impresses. No blowing up the ring world, working alongside enemies, or
Nothing it does that impresses? Come on. Come on, Lucas. Even a fucking faggot like you, surely you can admit that you were blown away by the space level. Surely an idiot like you can admit that he had a ball flying around on rooftops with the fucking ravens and gunning shit down. Surely a dumb fuck like yourself thought that using the big-ass fucking max cannon at the end of the game was pretty badass. Come on, dude. We know you were impressed. Retard. You know, the kind of guy this Lucas faggot is, I swear to God, he's one of those guys that's like, I'm too cool to be impressed by anything. Yeah, says the guy who fucking plays Overwatch and a game created by ex-Call of Duty members known as Tittyfall 2. That piece of shit game. Anyway. Whatever.
Multiple behemoths. No moment where I think, wow, that's awesome. You'd think that a mission leading to space combat would be exhilarating, but when you fly in circles killing the same two enemies over and over with no motivation other than doing what your commanding officer tells you, it loses all potential. Even the epilogue, which sets
Oh man. Yeah, you're a soldier. You're supposed to do what your commanding officer tells you. I mean, what do you want, you know? Whenever you fly fucking aircrafts in previous Halo games, you do the same thing. You destroy shit. Whatever. And that's not the only part of the game where you get to fly an aircraft. There's a helicopter level, you know, you get to use a Banshee at a certain point. The Reach does a really good job of giving you a taste of all kinds of different forms of combat, especially when it comes to aerial combat. So, again, kind of stupid to fucking bitch about that, but whatever.
a brilliant opportunity to weave gameplay into its storytelling doesn't work because the environment is so far removed from what we just saw, it feels like your character is in a dreamland. And why is there a narration from Dr. Halsey at the end? Where did
There's a narration at the end to tell you that you died fighting for a good cause, because that's what the Spartans of Reach did. But whatever. I guess if you're going to ask dumb questions like that, you might as well say, why is this game even real? Why is anything? These are some stupid fucking questions, but whatever, Lucas.
this come from? Why is she talking to you? While also acknowledging you're dead. What is the point of this? I could see if the game opened with a narration.
She's not necessarily talking to you. This could just be like what she's thinking. You ever think of that?
And its story from the beginning was about delivering Cortana's AI unit, but it's not. So why is this here? God damn it. To summarize, Reach's approach in the campaign of bigger being better
Could his "God damn it" have sounded more fake? Like, really, I mean, obviously that didn't bother you that much, Lucas. Trying too hard, kid.
doesn't translate into reality.
Nothing translates into reality. Your dumbass logic isn't what's translating into
Firefight.
reality, but whatever.
ODST's lone multiplayer contribution makes its return in Halo Reach. Bungie's answer to Horde mode was both critiqued and praised by its community, with some declaring it a lazy response and others playing it for hours on end. 2008 saw the introduction of Horde mode, Nazi zombies, and Left 4 Dead all within the same week, so to see a wave-based survival mode be included in a Halo game released after this isn't much of a surprise. Even Bungie don't attempt to fool people in interviews that they're doing anything other than showing their take on it. One of Halo's constants in its level design is to have the player battle 3 waves of enemies in one space, so wrapping that around a wave defense mode can make sense, and ODST was the right game to use it, thanks to your character's lower strength and less aggressive playstyle. When it came time for Halo Reach, Bungie received mountains of feedback, a heavily modified engine, and a new playstyle. During pre-production, Reach's campaign was mapped out from beginning to end so multiplayer designers could map out which arenas they'd like to use for competitive and firefight. Generally speaking, the arenas used for firefight are much bigger than their ODST counterparts. One game taking place in a condensed city and the other on a whole planet has to do with that, but also to accompany the strength of Spartans, their abilities, and the weapons they carry. I previously discussed with ODST that I felt Bungie didn't go far enough in differentiating Spartans and the ODSTs and how they felt, and I stand by that. But those differences were more noticeable when...
Yeah, I can agree with that. Honestly, when I played ODST, I didn't really feel like a bitch. I felt like a slightly weaker Spartan, but not really. I was still kicking pretty much just as much ass.
Fighting multiple squads of Covenant, normally reserved for a super soldier's to-do list. Now that you are said super soldier, the waves in Firefight just don't feel as desperate, even when putting a strict limit on lives.
That's why you go into custom Firefight and manipulate the settings to make the game actually feel difficult. Depending on how good you are, dumbass. It's called options. They're there for a reason.
That may explain why, as many in the community have pointed out, Firefight in Reach has less of an emphasis on teamwork and survival, and more about racking up points. Confirmations of this are the changes.
Yeah, that's true if, you're just fucking playing the dumbass fucking matchmaking modes that are pretty easy, especially like arcade Firefight, That shit's really easy. Don't they give you like infinite ammo or some shit, and you do like extra damage, and sometimes you get overshields, it's for noobs, Play the legendary one. I don't see it here. It pops up sometimes. You'd probably have to hit none of the above or get lucky, but they do have a legendary playlist that is pretty fucking hard. Especially if you got a dumb shit on your team who keeps getting killed and is using up the live pool, or if you have a bunch of rage quitters, or you're just playing with a friend, just one other friend, and it's just you two versus the AI. That shit is fucking hard, and you can fuck that up pretty easily. Just saying.
In the mode's default settings, and the overwhelming amount of arcade variants in matchmaking, with a large chunk of them supplying infinite lives and ammo. And I've personally been in QA tests with more excitement than these. Your mileage may vary, but I personally cannot stand playing what is basically Halo with God mode turned on for more than 10 minutes before passing out.
That's why you don't play those noob-ass modes, dumbass. Like, obviously, that arcade shit is for casuals. Why are you playing the casual mode and complaining when you can easily not and play a different mode that takes a lot more skill? Just saying.
Firefight Classic, or custom variants with live restrictions, or extra objectives to control, add a layer of strategy and commitment, and elevate it more alike what ODST offered in its Firefight component. The large levels can't echo that game's feeling of being pushed up against a literal wall, but there's still potential chaos with friends. It's unfortunate that the netcode is synchronous instead of asynchronous, which means even on a connection where you're the host with a quick ISP, you'll still be receiving input lag, which means that when compared to other game modes of this variety, Firefight hasn't aged as gracefully. But as neutral and objective as I try to be in these videos, I have a large bone to pick with Firefight for a simple reason. Gears of War is a lumber.
Really? Trying to be objective? Is that why this video is like almost 90% negative bullshit and not focusing on a lot of the plus sides to Reach? Like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't even mention how awesome and popular Infection is in Halo Reach. It's probably the most popular and most badass version of Infection in any Halo game, but you don't see him drawing attention to that. Earlier, he complained about the first mission of this game being really empty and boring and stuff. And I guess he's got a point, but what about the mission Exodus, where you see a shitload of civilians running around trying to save their own lives, and you have to rescue them? Like, that's a very fucking intense mission where you see a lot of people running around in the city. Why don't you fucking give credit where it's due and fucking praise that mission for doing that? That one didn't seem so fucking lifeless and empty, now did it? But you don't see him in this video talking about how that was awesome or anything. Whatever.
Cover-based shooter with slow-firing, high-damage weapons against 7-foot-tall behemoths. The cooperative wave defense mode makes sense. Call of Duty is a fast-paced game where you're always 2 hits away from death with rapid-fire weapons against a ceaseless array of the undead. A cooperative wave defense mode makes sense. Halo is a fast-paced game where you take on dozens of enemies at once with a power-armored super soldier with the capacity to save the human race single-handedly. A cooperative wave defense mode makes no sense.
Oh, this guy's a fucking retard. Just because you're a super soldier Spartan doesn't mean you're fucking Superman, okay? They're not that badass, alright? They're badass, don't get me wrong. But they're not fucking Captain America badass, you know? Well, okay, that's not a very good example. Captain America is similar to a Spartan. You know what I mean. Like Superman, or Mrs. Marvel, or Thor, or the Hulk, you know? They can't just fucking pick up a school bus and throw it 1,000 feet, you know what I mean? Like, that's a fucking dumbass argument. And to say that Firefight doesn't make any sense in Halo Reach is fucking stupid. Now, I've said this before, probably more than once, and I'll say it again. Halo Reach is a game about soldiers fighting off waves of alien assholes. And Firefight is a game mode about soldiers fighting off waves of alien assholes. How does it not make sense, you fucking retard?
Halo campaign is at its worst when you're not making progress. When a series known for large open-ended levels throws you into an enclosed arena to fight off 3 squads, it always felt kinda cheap. Firefight are those moments ad nauseum. Halo's core gameplay is about offering multiple approaches of assault for the player, and when Halo is played defensively, there is no aggression, which is why a mode about defending against hordes of enemies feels like a drag. Firefight is a mode that, for me personally, has never delivered any of the memorable or exciting moment-to-moment gameplay that defines the series, and Reach, thanks to its emphasis on points rather than survival, is only worse. The one lone improvement here is the ability to customize Firefight, allowing players to adjust the game to their preferences. With that said, customization isn't something restricted to Firefight, but rather Reach as a whole.
I love how he spent all that time bitching about Firefight, and then at the very last fucking part of his criticism on Firefight, he praises it for its customization for just like 4 seconds. Like, there's a lot more to it than that, but whatever, dude. I guess you never really messed around with the settings. There are so many fucking modes to manipulate. So many different ways to play Firefight and Reach. That's what makes it the best Firefight. Like with ODST, you're forced to play on a few select options, and a lot of them are annoying, like the Black Eye Skull. Your screen is constantly bloodshot red, and it's fucking hard to see stuff. That's annoying. You don't like it? Turn it off. In Reach, can't do that in ODST. And then you got Firefight in Halo 5, and that's a fucking joke. Like, they just implemented that horse shit to push microtransaction sales. Like, that version of Firefight is fucking shit. It's laggy as fuck. It's got all these glitches. It's boring as hell. They made the enemy AI way too hard. That pressures players to buy microtransaction rec card packs so that they can get more gear and more weapons and stuff. Like, it's all bullshit. You can't play it offline. There's no split screen for the mode, and split screen and Firefight are like fucking peas and carrots, man. You gotta have both. What a fucking joke that was, you know? So, to talk that much shit about Reach Firefight is pretty fucking stupid, especially when you say that it doesn't make any sense. That was the biggest fucking stupid thing he said about Firefight and Reach. Oh my god. Anyway, continuing on.
That introduction in the campaign where you see your character's helmet discarded on the ground highlights one of Reach's main goals, to truly unify the experience. To have the campaign, Firefight, multiplayer, customization, visuals, and sounds be all part of one seamless game. It's a goal that Bungie have carried on years later, and it's understandable. The dream of a game being able to balance such a wide variety of experiences within the same mechanics is one that any designer worth their money desires. And it makes sense in the context of Bungie wanting to conclude their series with the biggest Halo game ever. Dozens of games use single-player levels and layouts in multiplayer maps, but they've never felt as intentional as Reach. Where most do such things to reuse assets, Bungie had a greater purpose behind it all, to experience such things as the Covenant Spire in both the campaign and adversarial multiplayer. It's certainly fascinating to play through the campaign and boot up multiplayer only to see very minimal differences in the environment, be it Boardwalk, Zealot, or Reflection. But when listening to the cringe fest that was the game's developer commentary, I caught this line from the game's project lead.
We integrated all the multiplayer and firefight spaces into the campaign.
Yeah, I don't have much to disagree with him here on, so he's pretty spot on right at this part in the video. So good job, Lucas.
It was a big pain in the butt. I don't know if we'd do it again if we were to do this game over, but
That quote suggests upon reflection, Bungie came to a similar conclusion to me, that this decision has multiple downsides. Level design, be it single player, co-op, or multiplayer, is a profession laced with difficulty. To create one multiplayer level requires a designer to
I see your point, but Forge World being as amazing as it is pretty much makes up for it. And I know, it seems lazy that the developers mixed campaign and firefight and multiplayer maps all into one trough, basically. But what's it fucking matter when they're good, you know? Like Sword Base, that map sucks ass. What other map? Boardwalk, that map fucking sucks ass. You know? Who cares that it's in the campaign also? So what if it feels lazy? That really doesn't fucking matter. What matters is if the map is any fucking good or not. And Sword Base fucking sucks because all the enemy traffic builds up around that lift, and it's just sword and shotgun spawn raping, basically. And then Boardwalk sucks ass because there's like hardly any cover in a lot of areas, but then there's too much cover in other areas, and you can easily get destroyed by power weapons and sniper rifles, and that map is just a long turd, you know? It's not a good map. So yeah, hate on the maps for sucking. Don't fucking hate on the maps just because it feels lazy that they were ripped from the campaign or whatever. You know, that's pretty dumb. I'm sorry, that's not a good reason to hate on the maps. Hate the maps that are bad, love the maps that are good. Now you got maps like Zealot or Countdown, and those are pretty good Reach Arena style maps. So who cares if they're from the campaign? They're good maps. And like I said, Forge World and classic map packs more than make up for it.
set up an arena that can be played hundreds, if not thousands of times without fault. Now imagine being tasked with this while also being restricted to a space that needs to look and feel almost identical to a completely different mode of play. Good intentions don't result in good game design, and this choice has resulted in nearly all of these maps, be they firefight, multiplayer, or campaign arena, being unremarkable. None of them are focused, and none of them squeeze everything they can out of Reach's gameplay. And it was all for nothing because Forge World takes place on Halo using Forerunner architecture and geometry. This issue is even more apparent years later when the playlists have dozens of Forge maps that aren't set on the same planet as any map officially released. But let's talk specifics. Map design in Reach is not only worse due to this limitation.
So, Halo Reach, the video game, must have multiplayer maps that take place on the planet Reach. We can't go anywhere else. Got it.
The layouts themselves have some very baffling but consistent trends. Reflection, Boardwalk, Sword Base, and the Cage all feature choke points that almost ruin their entire design in team games. Let's compare. Fan favorite Midship from Halo 2. It features a choke point. The ever-infamous Pink Tower. It's the highest point on the map that allows whomever controls it to be able to cover almost the entire stage. However, it's also the smallest room in the level, allowing well-placed grenades and teamwork to be all you need to get it back. The Cage also features a high point that covers almost the entire map, but with only 2 directions for non-jetpack players to attack from. Despite using Lockout as inspiration, this map was so atrocious that Bungie ended up releasing an alternate version named Uncaged with an extra platform underneath
I agree
the
with
high
Lucas
point
on
to at
this.
least
This
give
map
attackers
sucks.
a small chance of controlling it. I'm surprised the same thing never happened with Sword Base and its appalling gravity lifts. I've heard many profanity-filled comments against people who camp with shotguns in this room, but the fact of the matter is that it's a legit tactic. There is no reason not to do this other than respect for the game. And that's not on the player, that's on the level designer. Boardwalk's open air makes its choke point easier to bear, and Reflection was, in my opinion, unavoidably frustrating for the designers and players. Halo 2's combat is much, much faster than Reach, so to implement a corridor-based map from a fast-paced game into a slower title with higher splash damage and jetpacks, its reason for having 4 levels a player can access becomes obsolete. Countdown is the best map with this design simply because players have multiple ways of accessing the map's core. But even it is unremarkable. But what about the circular maps? Wide open spaces.
I like how he says it's not remarkable, but doesn't explain why. Anyway, this dude. And I always think it's funny when people say, a lot of the 343 fanboys use this. They say things like, Halo 3 sucks because it's so slow-paced. You know, so apparently a game being fast in regards to gameplay, I guess, makes it good. And if it's slow, it's bad, according to the people who say that, right? Okay, well, fine. Fine then. I guess Call of Duty is way better than Halo because it's a much faster-paced video game, right? That's such a fucking stupid fucking argument, dude. Call of Duty sucks shit. That's the fucking truth. Doesn't matter how fast-paced a game is. Like, let's take chess, for example, one of the oldest games. Chess is a very slow-paced game, typically. Sometimes players will sit there and think about what they're going to do next for minutes. Unless you're playing speed chess, but you know what I mean. Guess what? That's one of the greatest games ever made. So, dumbass fucking argument.
Zealot, Powerhouse, Asylum, and Pinnacle. These are even worse, and because of one simple reason. The designated marksman rifle is a solid weapon. It's reliable, effective, and fun to shoot. There's a reason that it's appeared in every iteration of Halo since Reach has come out, as it's a worthy successor and companion to the almighty battle rifle. But its inclusion on these maps, especially as a starting weapon, ruins them. Strategy is non-existent when no matter where you're positioned, you can easily kill anyone at any range. Back to midship, this simple map has specific cover points to protect you from incoming fire, meaning that if you're being killed from long range, it's your
That's absolute horseshit. Let's play Hemorrhage. You stay by your base, I'll stay by my base, and we'll see who kills who with the DMR. Guess what, dumbass? We won't be able to kill each other at that range. DMR isn't a fucking sniper rifle.
fault. Powerhouse doesn't have that sort of cover. It's ridden with wide open pathways that mean if an enemy happens to start shooting you from a distance, you're done. But I guess it means you really need to focus on your positioning, to take every angle
There's plenty of cover on Powerhouse, but whatever, dude.
into account, and know that if you decide to go down that path, you could be a dead man, or you can just sprint across. Big Team Battle is the one area in Halo Reach that's improved over its
Unless you didn't pick the sprint armor ability, but whatever.
predecessor. Regardless of your opinion on Sprint, its inclusion in these large levels is a welcome addition. I think we all have memories of walking from one end of the map to another due to lack of vehicles, only to be sniped or run over. The same armor abilities in Reticle Bloom that slow down arena combat speed things up in these two modes.
You probably won't be sniped or run over if you have armor lock or drop shield. Yeah, you don't have sprint if you choose those, but you got to make sacrifices. You got to decide. That's what's nice about Reach's loadout system. You got to pick the armor ability that you think you're going to need.
The DMR means you never have those desperate long-range encounters like in Halo 2 and 3 BTB. Large maps are also better designed than their small arena counterparts. Boneyard and
Wait, what? Desperate long range? What the fuck is he talking about? There are still long-range encounters in this game, and it's up in the air who wins the fight based on who's a better shot, but alright. I don't see how Halo 2 and 3 did that, and this one doesn't. I don't know about you guys, but I've played all these games, and I have gotten into long-range shootouts with people. Happens in all of the games. I don't know what he's talking about.
Spire are far more distinct than any other map on the planet of Reach, and the remake of Blood Gulch is far more accepting of Reach's additions to gameplay than Ivory Tower. Invasion is a mode that, at the time of writing, is unique to this game, and I do wish to see its return someday. Similar to things like Rush and Bad Company 2, Invasion is a 6v6 team-based mode that pits Spartans versus elites in a linear set of objectives. The elites may only have minor gameplay differences, and the mode itself could be a little more immersive with less video gamey objectives. But despite these shortcomings, when Invasion is firing on all cylinders, it is the best part of this game. When I recently teamed up with a friend and hopelessly fought wave after wave of determined enemies from stealing our objective at the top of Spire, I was reminded why I spent so many hours playing this game when it was released. Sadly, for every Spire or Boneyard Invasion, there's dozens of other combos that don't work. Invasion's Slayer is a variation that
Alright. Here's the thing. I've said this before, but I'll just say it again. And I forgot to mention this earlier in the video. You know how earlier he was basically talking shit about the Reach campaign, talking about how it was easy and whatnot. Well, if you look up his gamertag, and you can find it in this video, you can see that he dies a lot in the campaign. So obviously it's not that easy, or at least for him. Maybe he's just a scrub, I don't know. But he just now said that Invasion is the best thing about the game. And I agree with that personally, because I love Invasion, and that's the only kind of online multiplayer in Reach that I play pretty much. So yeah, I agree with him on that. But it's kind of hard to take his word seriously, because if you look up his gamertag, he's only played 30 matches of Invasion online. He's barely touched the motherfucker. Now, you can argue that maybe he has a different gamertag. Did you think of that? It's like, yes, I did. But here's the thing. On this particular gamertag right here, Canadian, he's played Free-for-All, Big Team Battle, Objective, a bunch of different other game modes, way more than Invasion. So how the fuck am I supposed to take this motherfucking cocksucking piece of shit seriously when he says that Invasion is the best thing about the game when he's played Invasion less than other modes in the game? That doesn't make any fucking sense. This is just like when I proved how stupid Rony Boney was, you know? Like, he says one thing, but his actions in real life say something totally different. So, he's full of shit.
to bridge the line between Objective and Slayer modes with supply drops that both teams need to control. But due to unbalanced matchmaking, it's frequent for games to degenerate into the richer getting richer until the other team quits out. A large contributor to this headache.
He is right about Invasion Slayer, though. Yeah, those games can be real fucked up. Like if you're playing on Hemorrhage and you're the Spartans and you get the territories first on your side of the map, shit, you're going to be up to your eyeballs in sniper rifles while the elites just get picked off one at a time, you know? That map is extremely fucking one-sided horseshit for the elites. I mean, for the Spartans. For the elites, it's fucking bullshit. Although, if you're good, you can still manage. I've played as the elites against a bunch of Spartans on that map, and I fucked them up, so it's not a big deal.
The game's lack of a true skill ranking system. Halo's second title update in September 2008 added a new ranking system to all playlists, but calling it a ranking system is a bit of a misnomer because all it did was track your experience in a given playlist, meaning that a high-ranked player didn't earn it through skill, but rather just by playing the game a lot. But Halo 3 still incorporates.
Yeah, that's true, but a lot of the time you can just look at somebody's KD and find out how good they are. Yeah, that doesn't always necessarily determine how good they are, but neither does a fucking rank. In Halo 3, I'm a 50 in multiple playlists, but I've gotten my ass kicked by 40s and 45s. So that's not exactly a good way to determine how good someone is either. No system is perfect, okay? So this isn't a real big complaint that anybody should be making.
Ranked playlists where your level was earned through skill rather than playtime.
Hey, slow down there, champ. Fucking, not all the time. A lot of BKs got carried to their high rank. A lot of scrubs bought their level 50s and never earned them legit. A lot of people played with a team that really helped them get a high rank. Okay? Just saying.
Really, it was more just a way to give casual players something to chase after in social playlists.
Oh, and Halo 3 wasn't perfect in the rank system, especially at first. I remember 2v2 ranked, doubles, right? 25 kills to win, Slayer. Let's say we're playing on Epitaph. Well, they ended up patching this, but they didn't at first. What you did was, and this was pretty fucking dirty, this is what you did. You got the first few lucky kills, right? Let's say you're lucky in your red team and you spawn by the rocket launcher, right? And you just bum rush and you kill the enemies twice easily, right? Guess what? All you got to do now is spend the rest of the game jumping off the map committing suicide. At the time, they didn't have it set up so that you would lose points on your scorecard if you did that. So you would stay at 2 kills and they would never kill you because you would always spawn away from them and they would never be able to keep up. After time runs out, game over. You win by 2 points. They fucking lose. Now that's some horseshit right there.
But Halo Reach took that idea and expanded it to the whole game. Everything you do, be it a campaign mission, firefight, or multiplayer, earns you experience points and credits to purchase items for your Spartan, ranging from helmets to wrist computers to firefight voices. But not only was the experience system such a grind that players resorted to farming with a target designator, but there was only one skill-based playlist, called the Arena. It meant that for every other playlist in
Yeah, the Arena sucks.
the game,
He's right.
there is nothing to ensure that you're matched up with someone of a similar skill level. Reach does innovate with their searching preferences menu that at the time of release was effective at finding the sort of players you want. But most people just want to jump into a game as quickly as possible, making the system less and less useful as the player base decreased in population. Call of Duty didn't feature a ranking system because its playlists were less about winning individual matches, and more about using your personal skill to earn experience points so you could unlock more.
Hey now, that happened with Halo 3 eventually too, man. Like, you can't find fucking matches in most of the ranked playlists in Halo 3. Even after the recent fucking backwards compatibility update that they had. Just saying.
Stuff. Halo's never been about that. People played multiplayer for the moment-to-moment gameplay and or to show their skill. Reach attempted to be a sort of hybrid between chasing after cosmetics while trying to retain its skill-based gameplay roots, and it's not entirely successful. This is going to be a theme later on, by the way. Now that all of that has been said, I may have given the impression that I hate Halo Reach's multiplayer, but I don't. I've still put an unhealthy amount of hours into matchmaking, custom games, and using Forge World, which up until recently was the best in the series by far. Halo's core gameplay is still intact, and Reach's multiplayer sandbox results in—
Yeah, okay. I get it. Everybody thinks Halo 5 Forge is the best Forge out there. But let's not forget that it's still part of a shitty fucking Halo game. Let's not forget that there's still no fucking split screen. Let's not forget that it wasn't like that at launch. Let's not forget that, well, you can't play it offline. Let's not forget that getting used to it is a pain in the ass. And especially, as I already said just now, and I can't stress this more than enough, it's part of a shitty Halo game. Who the fuck wants to play the greatest maps ever in a shitty video game? Yeah, that's what I thought. So, when you look at it logically like that, Reach has the better Forge.
many awesome moments, be they clutch comebacks in arena combat or epic battles in big team. When I read negative comments about Reach's multiplayer, I find it often has to do with frustration towards how it was utilized in Major League Gaming. To be perfectly frank, Reach is simply not—
Yeah, he's got a point there. A lot of the haters on Reach are those MLG no-lifer try-hard faggots that take the game way too seriously on a competitive level. Those guys need to get lives. And to be honest, they only make up like maybe 1 or 2% of Halo fans. There's really not that many of those kids. Maybe like 100,000. about it, and considering that like tens of millions of people buy Halo games and get into the Halo games, that's a very fucking small number. So fuck what those faggots think. They need to get lives. They just want to fucking teabag and talk trash and shit, you know. And they think a console shooter is a way to show off how amazing and skillful they are, you know. You're doing it wrong, bro. Go to PC. And even then, you're still a fag.
Style of game that fans of competitive Halo 2 and 3 seasons wanted, and Bungie have never made their games to specifically cater to them. MLG probably should have left Reach in the dust and simply coast along with Halo 3 until that scene ran its course. Instead, they tried to salvage Reach's gameplay into a competitive game type like they...
Well, Halo 3, the hit detection was pretty shit. That BR spread was pretty unreliable, man. So I don't know what this guy's fucking talking about. You can't take these games very seriously on a competitive level. Not only are they not the most skillful shooters out there, not even fucking close, but who fucking cares? It's just a video game.
With Halo 3. But whereas Halo 3's changes were at least only to do with damage and weapon locations, Halo Reach's multiplayer MLG variant is so far removed from the original game that it's almost impossible for a normal player to relate to it. By 2012, there was no reticle bloom, no spray.
Plenty of players have related to it, but whatever. Like, what about that Ninja's Hyper Kid, you know? Motherfucker's a boss at MLG settings in Halo Reach.
Minimal abilities, and only 2 maps from Reach's launch remained: Countdown and Zealot. Everything else is either Forge or a Halo 1 remake, and subsequently, the competitive scene died. That's unfortunate for hardcore players, but while I do enjoy some friendly competition, I've never been good enough to go pro, so its lack of compatibility with Reach doesn't affect me, and the same goes for most players.
Yeah, I can see how this guy would suck at Halo. But, you know, he's got a point here, though. It doesn't really matter how skillful and competitive the game is. What really matters is if it's fucking fun, you know? Most Halo players are not like those MLG tryhard faggots, okay? That's just a fact. Most Halo players just want to play a fun game. Like me.
What hurts Reach's multiplayer the most is its lack of focus. Oh Brave New World has Bungie talk about needing to focus and experience and knowing what to leave behind. Yet that philosophy didn't seem to apply to this game. And now that I think about it, it's not just multiplayer. Halo Reach as a whole is a good game. In its best moments, it's even a great one. But Bungie tried to go all out, and while that is commendable, too many missteps ultimately result in a solid game, rather than the perfect conclusion we all want it to be.
There's no such thing as perfection, Lucas, but whatever. At least at the end of this video, he admits that it's a good game, and a great game in certain ways. But after watching this whole fucking thing, it really doesn't feel like that's how he truly feels. And he didn't talk about the music in the game, really. And I know he went back on this video because he got a bunch of hate, and he added in a bunch of shit and changed things to try to fucking justify the video. Like, even in the description here, it says, well, not in the description. He made a comment talking about how this video is just focusing on the negative stuff. Then why is the video title of this video Halo Reach 6 years later? Shouldn't it be stuff that I don't like about Reach? You know, then I probably wouldn't be bitching about this video so much. Then I would just be like, oh, okay, it's just his opinion, you know. But he's acting like his word is law, and what he's saying is a fucking fact, when a lot of it is just bad opinions, honestly, and a lack of giving credit where it's fucking due. Oh, yeah. This video sucks. But I'm glad it got a shitload of hate, because that hate is justified. I know he put a lot of work into this video, and that's nice and all. And he had some good points, like his origin of armor abilities talk, and his talk about like the big team battle experience in Reach. You know, he's pretty spot on there. So I give him mad props for that. But pretty much everything else he said was hypocritical or easily disagreeable or just plain fucking retarded. And yeah, that's how that goes. So yeah, I know this video is really long, and I didn't do the greatest job in the world of criticizing this jackass. I bet you GLL would have done a much better job than me. But he didn't do this video, so I decided to do it kind of like how he would have. But of course, I'm nowhere near as good as GLL is when it comes to chewing the asses out of dumbasses in the Halo community. Like, that guy's a fucking boss when it comes to that. I don't agree with a lot of things that GLL says, especially when it comes to other video games. But that motherfucker really knows how to talk the talk when it comes to Halo. But yeah, I know I did a video in the past about this video, and it was okay, but I got a lot of hate for it. So this one was just a little more in-depth, a little more detail. So yeah, this is probably the longest fucking video that I'll ever make. I can't believe I did this shit. This is fucking nuts. So anyway, yeah, Pukas Racevic, that guy's a faggot, and he's friends with a bunch of shitty Halo YouTubers like Faggin and Late Night Cock Up the Ass, so that'll also give you a good indication as to what kind of stupid asshole this guy really is. Anyway, so yeah, that wraps that up. I'm gonna upload some more videos after this. Gonna show some pretty funny shit that happened recently.